Well, good morning, folks. Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian whistleblower, and we're here for the original teachings of the Christ, sharing our coffee. And what we do on the original teachings of the Christ is we try to go through the dung New Testament, the diamonds and dung New Testament, and we try to pick out in chronological order the things that are the true words of Yeshua, and we go through those and we explain those and we talk about those. And today we're talking about a very common, a very well-known parable, the parable of the sower, but I think you're going to see it in a light that's different than what you've seen it in before. And I do ask that you subscribe to this channel. I do ask that you like this video and share this video and all the videos, please, so that way you can know that when we do a new video, and you can also know that you're helping increase my rankings organically, because people that don't look specifically for me can find these videos the higher we go in the rankings. So we're going to talk about the parable of the sower. We also encourage you to go to jeffreydaugherty.com, like me on Facebook, I guess it is, follow me on Twitter at Unindoctrinate. We've got about 120,000 followers. We'd like to have you amongst that group. And we're looking forward to getting into this teaching. And so without any further ado, let's go ahead and go into the parable of the sower here on the original teachings of the Christ. All right, here we go with the parable of the sower. And I used to get irritated. Now I just get tickled. I just kind of have to chuckle and shake my head when I see people giving us the explanation of the parable of the sower. Because they go up here and they read the parable of the sower, and then they want to explain it to us. When, you know, they look at 1 through 9 verses and say, oh, well, let me explain that to you. But they neglect to look down to verses 13 through 20, where the Christ explains it himself. So I don't know about you, but I would prefer to just allow the Christ to explain the parable. But before we do that, let's actually look at the whole concept of parables. And when he was alone, when they were alone, the disciples asked the Christ about the parable. And he said to them, this is interesting, unto you it's given to know the mystery of the kingdom of God, but to them that without, these things are done in parables. Let's look at this in the interlinear. So we want to look at verse 12. Okay. I think we want to look at verse 11. Okay. To you is given to be known the mystery. What's a mystery? The hidden secrets. The hidden secrets, the mysteries. And in this day and age of hyper conspiracy, which I'm generally in favor of, and in this day of hyper diligence against anything that seems to be a secret society, which I'm generally in favor of, here's the Christ saying that, listen, you guys are a secret society. I have hidden teachings, I have mysterious teachings, and look at this, a mystery secret of which initiation is necessary. Now, imagine that. Let's look at that again just in the King James, so you don't think I'm pulling, trying to pull the wool over your eyes or be any type of a bad guy. And I don't know why I can't get back out to this. But basically he's saying it's a mystery religion. It's a mystery teaching. There are mystery teachings. There are mysterious things that I'm showing you, mysterious things that I'm teaching you, mysterious things that I am not telling to everyone. And it's very difficult, I think, sometimes for people to pick this up and understand what he's talking about, because they're so afraid of this concept. They're so afraid of this concept of secret societies or rites of initiation, places that are, that are mysterious, things that are, done in secret, things that do have secret teachings, things that do have things of initiation. So I guess I'm here to tell you that just because, as Yeshua said, these things are given to you, the mysteries of the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God, that spark of divinity that's within you, the kingdom of God is, in a sense, a mystery school. And I know that'll make a lot of people upset, but that's okay, because that's sort of in the business I'm in, is making people upset, because people don't want to hear what people don't want to hear. And the reason of it is not because God is trying to keep things from people. The kingdom of God, as we know by definition of the Christ, is that the spark of divinity is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. So the most important thing, the real mystery of the kingdom of God, is that you are a part of the kingdom of God. You have the spark of divinity within you, and you can grow and develop and fan the spark and become, you can grow up into your Elohim status. But most people can't handle that. There's very few people, unfortunately, in this world at this time that are able to handle the depths of those teachings. And it's not because the Christ doesn't want people to know. It's not because the Christ doesn't want us to know. And it's not because I don't want you to know. It's because we know that you're not at that place yet to be able to understand it. It's given to you. It was given to the disciples to know the mystery, to be initiated into the mystery school of the kingdom of God. I think I better write that down. That brings something into me. All right. So it's not a thing where he's trying to keep information away. It's a thing where he's trying to keep from getting himself beat to death on a daily basis. He says, those that are without, these things are done only in parables, that seeing they may see but not perceive, hearing they may hear and not understand, lest, and this is dung right here, lest they convert to be forgiven. That's dung. That's not really there. He's saying is, I'm talking to them in parables so that they'll see but not see, so that they'll hear but not hear. And if we look at this in verse 12 again in the interlinear, what we'll see is that what Yeshua is saying to them, that they would see and not perceive, that they won't be able to put it all together, that they'll understand, they'll experience it, but they won't be able to see with their mind. They won't be able to, I just looked at this and it said, put it all together. They won't be able to put it all together. And we'll find that they'll be able to perceive and not, they might see and not perceive, they might hear and not understand. Here's where they put it all together. That they wouldn't consider, they wouldn't understand, they wouldn't put it all together. They wouldn't put it all together. They wouldn't be able to put into a comprehensive and synthesized whole. They wouldn't be able to arrive at a summary or a final understanding, complete with the life applications. I'm just shocked sometimes at the depth. See, this is why even this is a mystery school. Even this does require some initiation. We're not going to make you run naked through the town square as initiation, but yeah, we got. Things are just percolating, not running naked, but other things are percolating. Because what Yeshua was saying was, look, I don't give them all the information because they're not able to put it together. They're not able to synthesize it into a comprehensive and interlocking whole. They're not able to come to that understanding that's complete with the life applications. And they're not able to connect and discern the preferred will of the divine. So what Yeshua is really saying is he's saying, look, I don't give them everything because I don't want to deal with a bunch of trolls. That's exactly what he's saying. I don't want to deal with a bunch of trolls. And I understand where he's coming from on this. I really do. Because if you're in this business, you'll end up, if you let yourself, getting kicked around constantly by people that are just trolls. They don't want to know. They don't want to understand. They don't want to come to the knowledge of the truth. All they want to do is fight it. So sometimes it's easier just not even to deal with them. And, you know, I take some heat on this channel because I will delete people's stupid comments. And I'll call them idiots. And I know I just got a tongue lashing. Please don't go ad hominem and call somebody an idiot. Well, first of all, calling someone an idiot is not an ad hominem argument. An ad hominem argument is attacking the person themselves and not dealing with the argument that they're bringing. To say you're an idiot, which I guess would be a little bit of a personal attack, but also deal with the argument they're bringing, that's not an ad hominem attack. That's a slap. That's slapping a fool before you deal with what they say. And sometimes I'm not the Christ. I don't have that that high level that he had when he walked here on the earth yet. So sometimes I get carried away. But what he's trying to say is, listen, it's given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God, the mystery school of the kingdom of God. But to all those that were without, I talk to those fool in parables because they're not able to put it all together yet. And they'll just beat me over the head with their stupid, and sometimes, you know, even in that day, they would beat him. I mean, think about it, there's at least 5 or 6 times where these fools tried to kill the Christ. People that weren't getting it, people that weren't synthesizing it, people that couldn't understand. And today, you know, I understand it in a much, you know, watered down fashion because I don't want to listen to these idiots bash me daily. I still get it, but I just hit the delete button. Bloop. So that's what he's trying to say. He's like, listen, this is a mysterious initiatory teaching, this whole kingdom of God thing. It hasn't been taught in 2,000 years. It's been hidden for 2,000 years. There's a reason, because it's high level stuff. The very highest level that you can see in the camera view. It's very high level stuff. And that's what we're doing. And we don't want to get beat up. We don't want to subject ourselves to ridicule. It goes to the putting pearls before swine. You don't put your pearls before your swine, before the swine, because you don't want them to stomp on the pools, the pearls, and then turn and rend you. And that's really what it's all about. So that's the purpose of the parable. That's to understand and set up why parables are done. And let's look real quickly at the parable itself, which also follows up and gives us more understanding of the same type of a thought process that we're going from. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath and look back at the actual parable itself here on what are we doing? We're doing the original teachings of the Christ. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. And just to show you that I'm not the only person that's ever thought of this analogy, if you look over here, here is the sower, and here is the fool of the tarot card. And you can see, especially if you've got any spiritual sensibility about you, and this, of course, is just our NCK logo, you can see that the sower bears some striking resemblance to the fool. And, of course, the fool being, you know, of the tarot, which is very much of a initiatory secret society. And Van Gogh saying, oh, you know what, I kind of get it. So there's been some people that have got pieces of it. So Van Gogh, who did the sower, is kind of saying, oh, the sower, he's kind of like the fool, because the sower is kind of trying to carefully disseminate and dish out mystery type schools. And the fool, well, that's, you know, we can't get into the depths of the implications of that from the tarot, but it just gives you an idea that I'm not the first person to ever come up with this kind of an idea. So this stuff is pretty cool if you take a look at it. All right, now I promise, we will get into the parable itself here on the original teachings of the Christ. It's bad when you do so many that you forget which one you're doing, but it's good for you because we're putting out lots and lots of information. Okay, so here we are back to talk about the parable itself. And again, I'm not going to be foolish enough to try to explain it to you. I'm just going to tell you what the Christ said that it meant. And he said to them, dudes, I can't believe you can't figure out this parable. How are you going to figure out these parables, man? But he says, the sower sows the word, which is the teaching, which is the knowledge, which is the instruction. And then those that are by the wayside, when this instruction is given, they hear it, but then Satan comes immediately and takes away that which was sown in their hearts. Now, I know that I've explained this to you before, but we need to make it very clear. So let's look at 16, verse 15, what Satan really is in the interlinear, because we don't want you thinking that you're being chased by a devil, because you're not. That's just a stupid thing that Christianity tries to make you think. The Satan, the Satanus, it's just an adversary. An adversary. And does this have the... It has, look at this, it has the definite article. If you look at this, 3588, which means the definite article, it's not just talking about an adversary, it's talking about the adversary. And in this case, when he talks about the adversary, he's actually talking about, he being the Christ, he's talking about the Lord, Yahweh, Yaldabaoth, Jehovah. How do I know that? Well, I can't really reteach the whole thing right now, but when Yeshua talked to Luke, or Luke wrote the Christ's words in, I believe it was Luke chapter 4, when he was talking to the evangelists, and he said, hey, look, what you saw was my adversary. You know what, let's go ahead and just take a look at it. We're in Mark 4:15. Let's take a look at it. And this is, this is extemporaneous. I didn't mean to talk about this, but let's go ahead and see if we can't find real quickly what I'm trying to get to you about. It's either in Luke 4 or 10. I think it's Luke 4:10. It's been a long time since I've been through this stuff, so it's not Luke 4:10. Let's see if it's Luke chapter 10. Yes, it's Luke chapter 10. So no, I thought it was 10:4. I thought it was 4:10, but no, it's in Luke chapter 10. So here we go. The 72 returned again by saying, Lord, even the devils are subject to us through thy name. And the Christ says, I beheld Satan fall from heaven as lightning. And if you look at verse 18 there in the interlinear, verse 18, if we look at Satan again, what do we got? The adversary. So what Yeshua is saying here is, look, I saw my adversary. I saw my adversary fall as, where were we? I saw my adversary as lightning fall from heaven, which means it was, and as lightning, if we look at that, we should look at that. We're not going to look at it. It means a bright, shining light. And if we look at the very same word, and it's in Acts, which was also written by Luke, Acts chapter, is it chapter 9? Saul's Damascus Road. See, I'm not too far removed from knowing where these things are. And then here's Acts chapter 9. As he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. The exact same thing as the lightning, exact same word. So the Christ said, this being my adversary appears with lightning and a bright light. And then Paul says that this being appeared to him as a bright light. And then he says, who is it? And Saul says it's Jesus, or the being said he was Jesus, when the Christ told us, oh no, this is my adversary. So what we're talking about here is that the person, the thing, the entity, the being that the Christ identified as his main adversary is the same person that is stealing away the word. It's the same Satan, it's the same adversary that is stealing away the word that is sown in people's hearts. So when I get people that, unsubscribe from me on this channel because they're mad, what has happened is that the Lord, Yahweh, Jehovah, Yaldabaoth, Marduk, Rat Bastard, has come in and taken away the word, the good teaching that was sown in their hearts. And then likewise, those which are sown on stony ground, they have no word, but when they've heard the word, immediately they receive it with gladness, but they've got no root. They endure for a short time, but afterward, when afflicted or persecuted, immediately they are offended. Oh, isn't this what we were talking about above? What? You mean this thing all comes together? Let's look at that, verse 17. But immediately, they're like hearing the word for a while, but sooner or later, what happens to them? They get offended. Here it's fall away. They stumble. They get offended. They get shocked. They become indignant. You shouldn't call people idiots. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? I'm unsubscribing because I have stumbled. I have been caused to stumble. I have become indignant. I've become shocked. I've become offended. And I'm unsubscribing. This is what he's talking about. But of course, he's talking about it on a much bigger and more important level, because people that, they get the truth, they get the word, and then something happens and they get their panties in a wad, or they get their little spiritual tummies upset, and they get offended and they leave. And then the people that where the word is sown among thorns, they hear the word, cares of the world, deceitfulness of riches, lust of other things, choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. They kind of just go away. And then they, of course, which receive the word on good ground, hear the word, receive it, bring forth fruit 30, 60, and 100-fold even. So, wow. Who knew all of that was in there? Let's go ahead and wrap this all up and tie a bow on it as we finish up here on, what are we on again? We're on through the original teachings of the Christ. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap this whole thing up. And many of you have been asking for longer videos, and you're getting your wish granted here. But really, it's not me sitting down and saying I want to make longer videos. It's me trying to make better videos, instead of just having you watch me try to resize my screens when we switch to the text, or when we switch to pictures, having you watch all that foolishness. I go ahead and cut, set it up, give you some nice transitions, and it makes it easier to watch. I think it makes for a higher quality production, and I'm doing my best. I got to work full-time, got a lot of stuff to do, so we're trying to do our best to make it a higher quality experience for you. And if you want to help financially or with expertise, bring it on, brother, bring it on, my sister. But what a full lesson on today. We learned that even though some of you don't want to hear it, the Christ was running a mystery school, an initiatory mystery wisdom school. And he was doing it not because he wants to be exclusive, not because he wants to be skull and bones, not because he wanted to withhold knowledge from people, but he did it because he didn't want a bunch of knuckleheads messing stuff up all the time and causing him hassle. Because there's just not enough, there's not many people, there's too many people that aren't ready, that think they are, and all they want to do is mess stuff up. Accuse, troll. There was trolls even in the 1st century. So you want to, in an effort to stay away from the trolls, an effort to stay away from the haters, an effort to stay away from the naysayers, you want to have it where it is secret, initiated, controlled to some degree. That's why he did it. And even when he spoke openly, he didn't speak with plainness because he didn't want to cast his pearls before swine, lest they turn and rend him. So there is some secret, some mystery, some exclusivity, some lack of complete broadcast, because these are truths that are not easy to swallow, and they upset many a whittle spiritual tummy. And then, you know, I go through the same thing and bloop, delete. It's just that simple. It hasn't always been that simple. I wanted to, you know, talk and work, and you just sometimes you have to cut fish. You have to cut bait. You're done fishing, time to cut bait. Then we also saw that the person taking the word away from people is not just some random devil. It's not just a random adversary, but it's the adversary of the Christ. It is the Lord, Yaldabaoth, Jehovah Yahweh, that's trying to keep you from understanding. So, subscribe, like, share, JeffreyDarty.com, ChristianWhistleblower.com, @unindoctrinate on Twitter. The Lord, he's trying to stop us. He's trying to prevent us, just like he was with the Christ and always has been, because he wants you to be his slave. He wants you to be his captive. The last thing he wants is for you to unindoctrinate yourself.